All right. Good evening, and thank you for participating. Welcome to this forum for candidates running for the office of Alderperson for Bellefontaine Neighbors. I am Louise Wilkerson from the League of Women Voters of Metro St. Louis, and I will be the moderator of this forum. The League of Women Voters is delighted to partner with the Friends of Bellefontaine Neighbors to bring this forum to you. And I want to thank Mr. James Carroll in particular for inviting the League to co-sponsor this important event. And we want to thank Ms. Barbara Harris of the League for working with him to make this possible. As you know, the League is a nonpartisan organization striving to empower voters and defend democracy. And in pursuit of those goals, we believe that one of the most effective ways to empower voters is to make sure they get accurate information, especially in terms of where each candidate stands on the issues. Our timer tonight is Ms. Deborah Canamore Lee from the League of Women Voters of Metro St. Louis. Wave, Deborah. So, okay, there she is. All right. These are the ground rules for this meeting this evening. First of all, I'm going to skip to what the candidates are supposed to abide by. The candidates will have 2 minutes each for an opening statement. They will have 1 minute each to answer each question. They have the right to speak to all questions, including those posed specifically to another candidate. So basically, I have the questions that were submitted online to the League office, and I will ask each candidate to respond to each question. Okay, is that fair? All right. Then each candidate will have 2 minutes each for a closing statement. The candidates should focus their remarks on what they believe. They are not to refer to their opponents, and they're not to refer to the opponent's positions or remarks. The purpose is to present their own position. So in other words, this is not a debate. This is a forum. Candidates should remain respectful to all participants. And so violators of this rule may be muted. Also, no campaign banners, clothing, or buttons should be visible during the forum. So we don't want any campaigning going on during this forum. Now, our timekeeper will time all opening and closing statements. She will also time candidate answers to questions, allowing 1 minute per response. She will indicate 30 seconds time remaining with a yellow card. Ms. Lee, would you hold up the yellow card? All right, yeah, I can see that very well. And then when time has expired, she will hold up a red card. Great. So we're asking the candidates to keep their eyes on Ms. Lee as they are speaking so that they can abide by the time allotments. All right. As moderator, I will explain the procedure. That's the ground rules, which I just did. I will introduce the candidates. I will read to the candidates the questions submitted by citizens. And I retain the option to combine questions that are similar or that address the same topic. I will ensure that each candidate has an equal opportunity to answer questions. I will enforce the ground rules. I will determine which questions will be asked asked and attempts in good faith to cover areas of interest expressed by the audience. All right. So with that, it's time to meet the candidates. I understand Ms. Peg Warnes is running to be alderperson for Ward 2. Ms. Warnes. So, Mr. Carroll, are you able to show? I don't see her. Let me see.
She's muted. Peggy, you gotta unmute yourself.
I'm sorry.
There we go. I think we're right now.
There she goes. She had herself muted.
Well, I don't see her though.
I'm up on top.
Oh, okay, there you are.
I'm up here.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Your last name is pronounced Warnes?
Warnes, correct.
Warnes, okay.
Well,
Thank
I used to teach children and I would say warn us when they hear me coming. That's how you can do it.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, and thank you for being here. All right. Then we have Ms. Gail Dedrick running for alderperson of Ward 3.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, there she is. Well,
Here I am.
okay. And then we have, is it Reverend Dwayne Elliott running for alderperson for Ward 4.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay, there you are. Okay, welcome. All right. The candidates will give their opening statements in the order that I just presented, but their closing statements will be given in the reverse order. Okay. And so let's go ahead then and get started. So Ms. Warnes, we'd like to ask you to start us off with your opening statement.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am a retired teacher who has taught children for 40 years, and I have lived in Bellefontaine Neighbors for 36 years. As I was trying to decide if I should throw my hat into the ring for alderperson, I concluded that running for this position was not about me. And it was not about you as individuals, but it was about us. It is about being honest, showing respect to each other, working hard for the common good, and being open to how we might address our differences. I am here tonight because I believe it is about us and how we can work together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Next, we'd like to ask Ms. Gail Dedrick to give her opening statement.
All right. The way things are going, it just looks like the city business is dysfunctional right now. We really need a functional, working, cohesive effort to get back on track, to give the citizens everything they deserve, to bring up their families safely, peacefully, and in a nice environment. Our crime rate has reached epidemic proportions. I feel sorry for anybody with kids. They don't get to be kids. We want to bring, or I want to bring this back to where kids can be kids and feel safe. And we need to restructure, update, renew ordinances to fit 2022, not 1950. And I hope to help promote all that.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Reverend Elliott, it's time for your opening statement.
Thank you for allowing me to be here and participate in this forum. I have lived in this community for just over 10 years. In watching the community, its growth, the camaraderie in the neighborhoods, the passion of the people for keeping this community a bedrock community and an example of in a place where people want to live at and raise their children. That was the impression that I got when I first got here. As I've been watching over the years, the management of the city and the workings of the board, I just think that there is a need for someone who has a voice of clarity, honesty, a person that it can reason and to make clear things that are complicated, that will reach across the table and work as a group to make the city the best that it can be. And so my desire is to do exactly that. I'm a servant. My goal is to serve the people and to serve the people that I work with if I am elected to the board so that this city can grow and so that we can improve and become that bedrock city. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidates. Okay, we're going to get started with the questions. I'm going to start with Ms. Warnes, and then with the first question, and we'll sort of mix things up so that she is not always going first, okay? So, and you'll see how it will go. Here's question number 1. Ms. Warnes, in your opinion, what are Bellefontaine neighbors' strengths and most significant weaknesses?
I have to say that the strength for Bellefontaine Neighbors is that we have many people in our community who care. The socioeconomic status in our group has changed over the years, but we have some really fine people who are trying to raise their children, raise their families, despite all the odds of living in this area and going to the schools which they need to attend. I think those are real, they're real important if we're going to move and make progress. I think on the negative side, we need leadership. We need to up our standards of what it means to live in a neighborhood with families. We need to take care of the crime issue. We need to take care of the elderly who continue to live here, and we need to start enforcing ordinances that we have.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Dedrick, same question.
I think I'll start with the strengths, and I do believe there's a lot of citizens that genuinely care about their quality of life, and they want to maintain that and maintain good relationships throughout the community, which are very important. The negatives have been, I would say, mainly a lack of leadership, and that starts at the top. And just everything's been degraded since improvements, things like that, since I've lived here. When I lived here 30 years ago, they resurfaced our streets every other year. There weren't potholes. I mean, that's just one thing. And I'll stop.
Thank you very much. Reverend Elliott, same question. Major strengths and weaknesses.
So I think major strengths for the city is that, once again, we are a community. An example of that is my neighborhood. We have people that look out for each other, that, you know, if I leave my garage door open, I get a call and say, hey, do you know your garage door is open? So there's people who actually care. and are a part of the community and want the community to be better and inquire about how to make the community better. I think on the opposite side of that, I think that leadership is the key, but the main part of leadership is the fact that there's no control over who's buying up the houses and who's moving in. And the people that are moving in are not vested in the neighborhoods the way the people who have been living here for years have been. And that's part of the decline that we're seeing. So I would like to see leadership do something about addressing those issues to start building our community back up to a destination where people want to live and not a place where people just want to stay in an apartment.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, moving on to the next question. And we'll start with Ms. Dedrick. What have you experienced in Bellefontaine Neighbors that has been negative and that affected you personally? And what actions would you suggest to correct the situation?
On a personal level, my home was broken into and robbed. I used to see a big presence of officers. I mean, when you were coming down the street in a 20-mile-an-hour zone and you got up to 23, you thought about slowing down. You know, I don't see that anymore. People say they're out there, but they're not in my area. And I just think we need a lot bigger police presence that would prevent a lot.
Okay, thank you very much. Reverend Elliott, same question. Something you experienced personally that was negative, and what would you suggest to correct the situation?
Believe it or not, I haven't had many negative experiences in Bellefontaine. I've noticed the increase in crime. I've noticed the increase in the way people take care of their lawn and how they interact in the community. I would just say I'd like to see more community activities that allow us to get to know our neighbors better, and to put an emphasis on neighborhoods and then building out to communities again.
Okay, thank you.
Sam, come here, buddy.
I'm sorry, Ms. Warnes.
Yes.
I'm gonna mute you.
Okay, same question.
I have not had personally many negative experiences of living here. I have to say that I think there's two things that affect me the most, and that is the amount of gunfire that there is by our house. There are times when I have had to hit the floor because I was afraid it would be coming through my window. Now, I'm not sure what we're doing about it, and I'm not even sure I know what the police can do about it, because they need to actually see the person who is doing the shooting. But they respond, they come, they collect shell casings, but we need more. And people know who the people are who are shooting the guns off in the neighborhood. And so until people take some responsibility for the action of reporting police or negative, let's say, shooting activity, I'm not sure we're going to move forward.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so we'll start out with the next question with Reverend Elliott. What inspired you to run for the position of alderperson?
The desire to see change in the city after listening to the financial state that the city is in and not really seeing a vision put forth in reference to how we're going to improve and stop the bleeding as far as our economy and development. And also just the desire to serve the community at a greater level. it was incumbent upon me to stop sitting on the side and to get into the fight. And the only way that you can see something happen is to get involved to make something happen.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Wallace. Same question.
I basically have said, I have done enough talking. I now need to do some action. And that has really influenced my decision to run for alderperson. I live on a wonderful block of and a neighborhood where people care about each other. We look out for each other. There's so many things. And we've been successful as a group of getting some barricades put up to help alleviate some drug problems that we've had in the neighborhood. That would have never happened had it not been for the gathering of people together. And I think we need to do more of that. And I think we can with the right leadership.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Dedrick, same question.
My first reason was how dysfunctional everything was running in the government, in the meetings or without the meetings or whatever. And I want there to be cohesiveness and where we can agree to disagree, but move on and solve problems. And I want to be part of solving the problems.
Okay, thank you. All right. Ms. Warnes, next, let's start you off with the next question. A citizen sent this question into the office, and I'm not sure what this is really about, but it has to do with stipends that alderpersons receive. Is that right? If they attend meetings?
They receive a stipend for being an alderperson.
Okay, so
Not a
this,
salary, it's a stipend.
right, so this person wanted to know, how would you vote if an ordinance was brought to the table that would eliminate stipends to alderpersons?
I would have no problem with it. I'm not doing what I'm doing to earn a salary. If I want to earn a salary, I can go tutor or do some other activities. But I think it's nice that you get a stipend, but it's certainly, that's not why I'm doing the job of running for alderperson, is to get a stipend.
Okay, I understand. Ms. Dedrick, what do you think? How would you vote?
I would vote to not eliminate it. You know, it's not making anybody rich. People could go get a part-time job, whatever, if money was the interest. But I think the stipend makes you a part of a community. As weird as that sounds, it just, that's how I feel. So I
Okay.
would not vote to rescind it.
Okay, thank you. Reverend Elliott, how would you vote?
I think that above and beyond all, the stipends were put in place not for compensation, but as an appreciation for the work that the older people do. And if you're not sitting in the seat, you have no idea how much work and time goes into the actual service that you provide. It's not a salary. Obviously, it's not enough to even be considered compensation, but it is for the appreciation. And not only for myself, but the people who have been serving for a long time. I think that it is something that is not only in our city, but in many cities across the country. I would not vote to go against something that has been well established for the people that serve the community as appreciation for what they do.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so moving on, we'll start with Ms. Dedrick. What is your stance on elected officials such as alderpersons using social media? What are your concerns? Just what are your thoughts on that?
Well, using social media is a great platform, but the posts need to be factual. And that's where the problem lies. There's a lot of statements that just are not true. So I think some people believe it, and that can cause problems, but everybody's got to do their own research.
Okay. What do you think about the use of social media with respect to fellow board members, making statements about fellow board members or citizens?
Although I find it entertaining at times, I don't approve of it. There's enough negativity in the world, the old saying, if you can't say something nice about someone, just don't say it.
Gotcha. Reverend Elliott, what do you think about this social media issue?
I think as mature adults and responsible people in the dissemination of any information, it should be factual. Anything that is derogatory towards a fellow servant in the community or someone else, there's just no place for it at all. And I think that there should be some accountability to that point. But I think social media is a good forum to get information out and then to inform the community of things that are coming up, like events and things like that. I think that the lack of responsibility and maturity of the people who are using those platforms is really what's in question, not social media itself.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, and Ms. Warnes, your thoughts.
I feel that social media, if used correctly, has some advantages, and that's just in terms of communication. And I think that's important, that we communicate with the community about what's going on, whether it be an event or an emergency. That becomes important. However, when social media is used to degrade someone else or a situation, I'm not in favor of it. I think we need to act like adults. We need to act like we have some responsibility, and to plaster that over social media is wrong and should
Okay,
not be permitted.
thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Let's see, Reverend Elliott, we'll start with you. As an elected official, what do you think you could do to help increase property values in your community?
I think first and foremost, partnering with the city to make sure that the properties that are not being maintained get maintained, the grass cut, and keep them in a presentable state would be the first thing. The second thing would be to continue to engage with the school board to help to raise the level of education and programs that are built around the kids in the community to make them more viable and get our school board sort of certified. And then lastly, I think that just on a personal level, just making sure that things that can be controlled, like streets being repaired and things that need to be painted around the city so we have the right look, those are key things that could help to improve property value and make the city look livable.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Warnes, your thoughts?
I believe that our school district is critical, especially with people wanting to come and they need a school for their children. And we have to make sure that that school's experience for kids, it's either going to make or break them as children. I also think that how we look becomes important. And I'm not talking extravagant, but for instance, one of the main thoroughfares in our city is the Bissell Hill Shopping Center. And it is an absolute disgrace in the front as well as the back. The Kroger company is not doing what it needs to do in terms of meeting the criteria of being a good neighbor. I also think that we need to do something about the housing that is not in good shape. And again, that means we need to enforce ordinances.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Dedrick.
Well, it all goes back to ordinances. So we have to make sure that the ordinances protecting all of those things are appropriate. If not, they need to be amended and they need to be enforced. And enforcement's a big issue. And I think that's what's got to be done.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see. And this sort of ties into a comment that one of our candidates just made. And perhaps you all have sort of answered it already, but I'll ask it anyway. As an elected official, what are your ideas on improving the beautification and aesthetics of the city? Oh, let's see, I'm sorry. Ms. Warnes, we'll start with you.
I think we need to do some block activity of getting people in a relatively small space. Like in my situation, it would be Creek Drive, and pick up trash, and even present people on the street with their own bucket and their own grabber. And on Saturday mornings, we're going to have pickup time. If we see somebody who's having trouble with shrubbery or whatever, I'm not afraid to walk up and say, can I help you with that? Can we do something? I think people need to become involved, not just come and give somebody a ticket or a warning that something's wrong with their property, but develop a relationship so that you can get some of these problems taken care of.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Dedrick, same question. What are your ideas as an elected official, if you become one? What would be your ideas on improving the beautification and aesthetics of the city?
I do believe community plays a big role, but the board really only has power over the ordinances. So again, it goes back to the ordinances and finding the ones that address the issues and enforcing them. And it doesn't have to be in a ticketed way. It can be in another way that the people that are having problems are offered help of some kind. And I'd have to look into that more to figure that out. But yeah, we definitely need that.
Okay, thank you very much. Reverend Elliott.
I think that we're kind of all saying the same thing. It takes a community to maintain a community. And I think things that we can do is be aware of maybe older or elderly people that are living on the block that may need help to maintain their yards and things like that. But I think this whole idea of community and talking to your neighbors and things like that opens the opportunity to say, if you see something that they may need help with, to offer help, and they may be receptive to it. If I have a blower and they don't, and they need their leaves blown, maybe I don't have to blow their leaves, but maybe I can offer my blower to help them out. I think that kind of thing and that kind of camaraderie on a community neighborhood kind of basis will help to improve things and make us vested in really what the beautification of our neighborhood and our own homes look like.
Okay, thank you very much. You wrapped that up right on time. Let's see, so we're gonna start with Miss Dedrick, I believe. In your opinion, what is your opinion of Bell Fountain Neighbors' financial situation? And if elected to become an alderperson, what would you propose to address any financial issues that the city is having?
I would first request an audit to make sure that money was being spent appropriately and where it says it was. If we put our courts into the control of St. Louis County, we would save a lot of money. Yes, we get fines, but we also are paying a lot of salaries. So it would save around $70,000 a year by going to the county for that. So that's what I would think.
Okay, thank you. Reverend Elliott, your thoughts on the financial situation and what you as an alderperson would advocate to address any issues or problems you see?
I think financially, we've been on the decline year after year, spending more money than what we have and depending on grants and other things to support the general functions of the city. And I think the first thing that I would advocate for is a city administrator who is skilled in bringing in revenue development grants and things that will help build the city, and to do a better job at the overall management of all of the departments and oversight.
Okay, thank you very much. And Ms. Warnes, your thoughts?
I have some of the same ideas that the other two candidates have. First of all, we can turn over our justice or our court system to St. Louis County. And as it stands now, last year we spent $134,000 city money to run our court system. The court only brought in $63,000 worth of money. And so therefore we have a deficit of $71,000. If we would contract our court system to St. Louis County, we have an annual cost of $3,000. That's all it would cost us to do. So why are we sitting back waiting for some miracle to happen when it's right in our lap? If we can turn our court system over to the county, we will definitely come ahead. And the other thing is, I believe in a city administrator, and I'll probably have more to say about that later, but I think one of the things that we have to.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe you can share that with us during your closing statement.
Yeah, okay, I will. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Because I don't know, we may have some extra time here. Let's see. So Reverend Elliott, let's start you off with the next question. In what ways can Bell Fountain Neighbors support the school district? You know, what could the government or administration of Bell Fountain Neighbors do to help strengthen the school district? I believe your school district is at Riverview Gardens?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that?
From a governmental perspective, I just think that supporting them with activities, we have a rec center that is in the community, partnering with them to create after-school programs, to create avenues and opportunities for kids to come and to get involved and to participate in that area is one way. I think that from a political standpoint, we need to get out in the schools and have conversations and be a part of their board, their meetings and stuff like that with the community. And lastly, I'd love to see our police going by the schools and showing a presence so that they create better relationships with the children and making our community better in that way as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see, Ms. Warnes, what are your thoughts on how city government administration can support and help strengthen your school district?
I believe that one of the problems of our school district is absenteeism and a constant movement of students through the system. And I think there's actual data to show that we have kids who start school in August or September, and those are not, a majority of those kids are not necessarily the kids who are in the school come May and the end of school. So I think we need to figure out a solution to this. And part of the problem is that we have single parents who are, they need somebody to stay home with the younger kids because one of them is sick. And so therefore the older kid can't go to school. There's just all kinds of kinds of issues that social workers and things could help us maybe get some more mentors into the school to work with families and to work with kids. If nothing else, something as little as, would you go and do story time with a group of kids once a week, just so that they have something to look forward to and maybe be in school that day because the story lady is coming. So I think there's all kinds of things, big and small, but I know the teachers are working very hard.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Dedrick, same question.
Definite programs at the rec center. I think that helps so much to promote togetherness with them. And a lot of people want to go to school to be with their friends. So yeah, let's go to school, see you at the game later. I think we should use the urban youth programs that they offer and have, and try to get our youth enrolled with them.
Okay. In your opinion, what would the relationship be between the mayor and the city administrator? And so we'll ask Ms. Warnes to start us off with that, addressing that question.
A city administrator's job is to come in and work with all of the departments in the city, would work on hiring people to fill the jobs that are open. They have experience. That's what they've been trained to do. They have a certificate that says they've been a programmer and they know how to basically administer a school, a city. A mayor, when they take over the job, they're there, not always prepared to do the job that's there. It's kind of like asking an electrician to go in and take over the mayor's job when they know nothing about how to run a city. So I think I think the mayor and the city clerk work together, but I think it's the city clerk that does or not the city clerk, but the city administrator does the nitty gritty work.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Ms. Dedrick, same question. The relationship as you see it between a city administrator and the mayor.
Okay, the chief administrator would be responsible for everybody, including the mayor. Any administration functions and employment, everything that Peg already said. The mayor, the statutes direct the mayor to be active and vigilant in enforcing all laws, ordinances for the government of the city. And sometimes there's conflicts of interest, and I think the chief administrator could nip it in the bud.
Okay, thank you. Reverend Elliott, same question.
I think simply the city administrator administrates all of the functions of all the administration that goes along with the city, from payroll to hiring, firing, budget, all of those kind of things, and the planning for where the city is moving ahead. The mayor's position is to maintain the ordinances, and the administrator reports to the mayor to give him the information that he needs, along with the board, to put into action the things that the city administrator deems necessary for the benefit of the city overall. But the city administrator is an expert in city management. The mayor is just the steward, along with the board, over the things that are presented so that the citizens can be protected from the things that are being done, and to make sure they're done in order.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so we'll start with, boy, we're running out of questions here, but I don't know, this citizen maybe has some concerns about something that happened, but anyway, I'll go ahead and ask this question, and we'll start with Ms. Warnes. And it says under, how much weight should the advice of the city attorney carry with the mayor and members of the Board of Aldermen?
The city attorney is hired by the city to advise. And they're to advise the mayor and the Board of Aldermen about things that are of concern in the city. In terms of, does the mayor and the Board of Aldermen have to agree with the city attorney? No. Do they have to do what the city attorney says? No. But of course, I think they would be foolish not to take the legal advice since they are not the attorney. So I think their advice is to advise and point out, I guess, critical things to the board and the mayor.
You're on mute, Louise.
I'm sorry, the phone was ringing and I didn't want that to be a distraction. Ms. Dedrick, same question. How much weight should the advice of the city attorney carry with the mayor and members of the Board of Aldermen?
I think it is advice, and I think it should be considered, but I don't think they have to follow it legally.
Okay. Reverend Elliott, same question.
The role of the attorney is to advise the city, the mayor or the board members of anything that would not be following the ordinances of the city or the laws of the state. And so I think that the board and the mayor, is incumbent upon them to listen to what the attorney has to say and to also review and make sure that it is accurate, so that as their roles of stewards over the citizens in the city, they can be maintained with integrity. I think the only thing that is in question is if the attorney is saying something that is not based on facts and law. And in that way, it's our responsibility to make sure that even though they're telling us that information, that we get supporting information to make sure that we're doing what's right. It's a partnership, and I think it's important for us to work together to make sure we're maintaining the laws and the ordinances of the city for the citizens' sake.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, let's see, moving on. A citizen submitted a question, and I'm not sure what's behind this, but I'll ask you to address it anyway, and we'll start with Ms. Dedrick. It has, the question simply is, under what conditions may a resident, an industrial entity or religious institution move into and occupy a property without first containing an occupancy permit?
I believe that to be illegal.
Okay, so they would have to get an occupancy permit from the city of Bell Fountain, right?
Correct. Prior to moving in.
All right. Reverend Elliott, what's your understanding of that kind of situation?
They should not be allowed to move in, especially if it's a business, because there are certain rules and regulations that a business should follow. The property needs to be inspected as to the validity to maintain the business, to make sure that there's no issues with the property. And in reference to residency, you should have an occupancy permit and all paperwork prior to moving in so that you can legally be recognized as a resident. Any breakdown in that is a breakdown in us being able to maintain the standards that the city has already designated by ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Warnes, your opinion on that?
I would have to say that it's illegal. We have ordinances and we have them for a reason, and to let someone come in and take over, especially public property, is putting the city in danger. If something would happen to an individual or a group while they're on that property and they weren't rightfully inspected, the property was not rightfully inspected, could cause great concern for the city, or should cause great concern.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we're coming up on our last question. We kind of ran out of questions here, but you guys have done a fantastic job. And the question is, in what ways could Bell Fountain neighbors collaborate with surrounding communities to realize improvements in the region? So we'll start with, let me see, I guess Reverend Elliott.
I think that we have communities that are very close to us. And I think one way that we could do a better job is to collaborate, especially with our police forces, because many of them are small. And so if we had a collaboration, we could manage the issues that are going on in the city to help make not only our city safe, but the cities closer to us, so that we don't have violence trailing over from other communities into our area. The other thing is to maybe collaborate with our fellow city council people or aldermen from other cities, and just to stay up on what's going on, to find ways of how we can support each other. As small cities, if we could collaborate on projects that could benefit both of us, then we wouldn't have to allocate as much resource to those things, and we can improve our general area.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Warner, same question.
I think if all of the surrounding cities had strategic plans for their city, it would be worthwhile to have representatives from each of those municipalities come and talk about their strategic plan. And you can begin to see if there are things that can be connected and therefore benefit both communities, or more than just your community. But there needs to be some overall strategic plan so that we're not just dealing with individual little things, but the overall picture of what we need in our community and they need in their community.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Dedrick.
Well, yeah, I concur with both of them. I don't have anything to add. I'm sorry.
That's perfectly okay. That's fine. Okay. So that sort of wraps things. I mean, I've exhausted all the questions and even came up with one or two of my own because I wanted to make sure that the audience could get a good feel for your position on things. So we'd like to begin with the closing statements. And let's see, we'll start with Reverend Elliott, 2 minutes.
Once again, thank you for this great forum and the opportunity to share some of my thoughts and views on some of the issues. I think most importantly, what I want people to know is that we just need to work together. People have been working on the island for too long, following personal agendas and not really looking out for the overall value and benefit for the city. We need a group of people that are in office that are going to look to what is the major concerns of the city and come up with ideas and to ask the public to give their ideas as to what they think can help to improve our cities. We are the voice and the mouthpiece for the citizens, for our wards, but more importantly, we are the board for the city, and we need to work together to make sure that the city comes first. I would like to encourage people to look at and read the ordinances to understand that if things are not being done in line with the ordinances, that there is a consequence to that. And those consequences are the protection for the city and the citizens. And so my pledge is to follow the ordinances and to promote unity and development together so that we can make the city into the bedrock that it's supposed to be. And I want them to let me be their voice.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Ms. Warnes.
I'm going to end my I guess, contribution in talking about a city administrator, because earlier last year, Mr. Pat Kelly came to Bellefontaine and talked with the mayor and some of the aldermen who were available. And they talked about the problems that the city was having. And Mr. Kelly from the Missouri Municipal League basically said, many of the problems that you have as a city could be solved with having a city administrator. Most municipalities in St. Louis County currently have an administrator. So I would like to end this and say that there are 641 municipalities that make up the Missouri Municipal League, and most of those cities have city administrators. A city administrator is in the Bellefontaine Neighbors city budget. In order to have a city administrator, we need to reduce the salary of the mayor from $20,000 per year to $6,000. The mayor's job would be to run the monthly board alderman meetings and represent our city at civic events. We have a city ordinance that requires us to have a city administrator, but we don't have a plan to move this forward. We need a plan, and we need it now. I would like to thank the others sitting in on this panel and to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting our forum. I'm sorry that the other candidates who are running for this election chose not to participate, but this goes to show how hard work is going to be if we're going to accomplish anything. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Dedrick, your closing statement.
I feel our citizens deserve representation that includes living in a safe environment in which to raise their families. They need to know that who they elect can better our neighborhood and a more functional atmosphere. They need to vote with knowledge, not any other premise but knowledge. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for this forum. I'd also like to thank the candidates that did choose to show up. And I think people need to look closely at the candidates who didn't show up and wonder why. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's time for us to call it a wrap almost. But first, I want to thank our three candidates for participating. They gave great answers, and certainly they deserve a lot of kudos for showing up and answering some very significant questions. I want to thank the members of the audience for tuning in. And this has been recorded, so I'm sure this forum, the recording will be made available to the citizens of Bellefontaine Neighbors in some format or another. I want to thank the Friends of Bellefontaine Neighbors and volunteers from the League of Women Voters for making this possible. Now, for those who are tuning in, if you found this forum to be useful, think about joining the League of Women Voters. We have men who are members of the League as well as, of course, women. For additional information about the League and all that we're doing to empower voters and to, I guess, work to save our democracy, which we are. We're working very hard. You can go to our website at www.lwvstl.org. And maybe I can ask Mr. Carroll to make that available when he posts the recording of this forum. Would also like to remind you, wait a minute, let's see, some important dates are coming. First of all, absentee voting for the April 5th election began today, believe it or not. It began today, and it will end on April 4th at 5 p.m. And the last day to request an absentee ballot from the St. Louis County Board of Elections is March 23rd. Also, there will be absentee voting on 2 Saturdays, Saturday, March 25th and Saturday, April 2nd. And on both those Saturdays, the absentee voting will be available from 9 to 1. The last day to register to vote for the April 5th election is March 9th, if you're not already registered to vote. So we certainly encourage everyone to please vote. Make sure your relatives and friends vote. That is, being responsible, being a responsible citizen. And if you have questions, you can call the St. Louis County Board of Elections at 314-615-8100. And of course, you can also call the League office. We are happy to give information that will assist voters. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for, I think, a very useful and informative forum. I learned some things, and you have some well-informed candidates. So really, citizens of Bellefontaine Neighbors, it looks like you'll be in good hands. All right, with that, I'd like to say good night. Does anyone have anything else to say? Mr. Carroll?
Oh, we're good. Thank you so much for doing this again.
Oh, our pleasure, always. Ms. Dedrick?
Yeah, you said March 25th for the absentee voting from 9 to 1. Do you know the location for that?
You can call the St. Louis County Board of Elections and they will give you the absentee voting sites. And once again, their number is 314-615-8100.
Great, great. Thank you so much.
You are very, very welcome. Anyone else? Okay, with that, I'd like to say enjoy the rest of your evening. It's been a real pleasure, and call on the league at any time.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
So
much.
much.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye-bye. Thank you and good night.
Good night.